We join Cyclops as he is yelling for Angel to get Candy away from the battle. Doing so, he takes her up top and, knowing Mastermind can't create physical illusions, finds a solid platform to deposit her and then hurries back down. She thinks to herself of how she didn't expect to play hero and that she only wanted to tell Warren that his mom was in trouble, while below, Cyclops asks Angel if she's safe. On the side of the battle, Blob ridicules Jason for his illusion not working, and he retorts that it only works on people unaware that they're not real. They leave, wondering if Jean somehow warned them, while we see Kruger standing over her passed out form. Wanting revenge on Unis and the others, he tells his men to bring Jean with them. Turning to Illinois, Xavier explains how he cut off Ashley's powers to Hank as she wakes up when the police arrive, having gotten calls about the robot. Thinking quick, Charles explains who he is, and one cop had heard of him from when Bolivar was creating the Sentinels. Affirming his identity, he explains that the robot there was created by his son Lawrence Trask and had malfunctioned, and that they were tracking it as the police asked Terry if she's alright. Changing to Westchester, as Lorna is praising Cerebro for having found Bobby, the mysterious mutant in the Himalayas, and even Scott and the others in Florida. Alex moves to go join his brother, but Bobby stops him, telling him that there's no guarantee that they're in trouble, and wanting to find out what happened in the mansion first. Returning to Cyclops, he notices that Mastermind's illusions seem to be weakening, as Warren lets on that he's also feeling weak and can no longer fly, as the leader realizes that Kruger must be nearby. Blob and the others run into him as Kruger is angry at them for cheating him when he is threatened by Dukes. Unimpressed, however, he merely cancels out his power and easily pushes the fat man over. Doing the same to the other two, Jason yells for him to stop as the X-Men see where they really are and that there are only a handful of flunkies menacing them. Knowing they can take them easily without their powers, they go after them as Cyclops says they might be victims of Mastermind's illusions as well. Many of the underlings come to that conclusion as well, and knowing that they've been duped, they all run, not wanting to get hurt for nothing. Scott then sees Kruger appear in the doorway holding Jean, threatening to kill her if they come closer. However, Candy swings down using a ladder, kicking him in the face. Angel is glad that he's knocked out along with Blob and Unis, while Mastermind promises not to make any trouble with them. Checking on Jean, she tells him that she's alright when Kruger's friend appear, angry at what they've done and that he's the only one who treated them well. However, Jean enlightens them that he merely used them for his own purposes. How he kept them hidden from the world on a ship when they realize that she's right after thinking of what happened to Avia, and Jean promises to let them go if they simply return her to them. Not much later, Cyclops is telling the police to get the Avengers for Blob and Unis for when they wake up, when one of the cops suggests arresting the X-Men as well. However, he simply tells them that they're not wanted around the area and to clear out, and later, Candy asks if they always run into that kind of prejudice. They then return to the ship with the deformed people, and they see their ship has been brought ashore when one of them bring Avia out, and she goes straight to Warren, hugging him to Candy's ire. Boarding the ship, they leave, and Avia passes out when Warren suggests taking her home to the Savage Land, but Candy declines that thought. Turning to him, she tells him that she only came to tell him something and that the others should hear it as well, and that it involves a villain they had previously encountered that is going to marry his mother. Making it home, everyone is together again as Warren explains that he thought his uncle was dead, which is why he never brought it up, as Scott notes that Warren's uncle Bertram killed his own brother. Telling them that his family has never been one to talk about their private lives, Hank admonishes him for at least not telling his mother who killed her husband. However, he felt his mother was dealing with enough as Scott asks what they're going to do, insisting on helping his friend as Hank goes to prepare the ship and they take off for Long Island. Bobby notes that Warren left Alex and Lorna behind, but Candy says it was his choice who went when Jean senses that Scott seems bothered by something and asking he wonders if she and Candy did something to Kruger's men to make them turn on him. She lets on that she might have given a slight thought towards that, as Xavier would have done it, and Scott lets on that he's felt the professor is acting weird when they're told that they've arrived and land in the woods outside the estate. Walking through the forest, Hank asks his friend to update them on what happened with his uncle. Wishing he could go into more detail, he explains that his father was tricked into smuggling diamonds, then was killed, and how he tracked his uncle down to find Candy, kidnapped, and was unmasked. His uncle called himself Dazzler, who upon learning Warren's identity revealed his own. Angel stopped his plan to take over the world with a giant diamond laser, but when flying with him and Candy, dropped them and could only save one. Finishing the story, they arrive to see the wedding being set up as Bobby makes a crack of how Angel's family spends money. Scott admonishes him though as he warns him not to use their codenames as Bertram might not have figured out that they're the X-Men. Approaching the house, Warren sees his mother's doctor, Stewart, and asks if she's alright. Saying she's fine, he asks if the others are the X-Men to their astonishment when Warren says it's alright as Dr. Stewart delivered him and noticed his abnormality. He had gone to the doctor when his wings grew in, and Stewart advised keeping them hidden from his parents. Warren agreed, unsure of how they'd react as the others second-guessed the wisdom of the choice as they reached the entrance to the house. Inside, they find Bertram pretending to be pleased with their appearance when Warren threatens him. However, he brushes it off as Scott calls him out on duping Warren's mother and Candy calls him a creep and a killer. This, however, angers him, and he unleashes a brilliant flare of light that is painful, telling him that he can easily dispose of them when someone approaches. Warren's mother enters, having noticed the light but missed the source of it, as she goes to Warren, greeting him as she remembers Bertram had said that he'd try to get in touch with her son when he agrees and calls him son as well. Angered at being called that by him, Warren's mother reminds him that it will be true after they get married. Warren decides to tell his mother what happened to her husband when Dr. Stewart pulls him aside. Grinning, Bertram takes his mother away to the garden as Angel demands to know why Stewart stopped him. He reveals that since her husband died, she's been consumed with grief. That in her current state, Bert took advantage of her, and if it's revealed what really happened, the shock would most certainly kill her.